d'être venus nombreux ce soir, dans cette soirée finale de Coupe d'Europe. Il n'y a pas ce soir, mais ils sont où alors? Bien, en tout cas, merci d'être venus. C'est un plaisir de recevoir nos amis. La conférence va se faire en anglais, ce qui est bien pour vous aussi. Et puis, on pourra... Rossitza on fera un interprète, d'accord, français, etc. Je salue le groupe bulgare. Réduit au minimum, je suis un peu déçu. Je pensais que la communauté qui est nombreuse et qui fréquente depuis longtemps cette école serait plus fournie, mais merci à vous d'être venus, y compris vous, monsieur, qui arrivez de Londres. Ça fait très plaisir, merci d'être là. Monsieur travaille pour Herzog de Meuron, à haut niveau, et avait une conférence et connaît bien aussi nos amis, donc Rossitza et Plamen, BRATKOVA, qui sont deux jeunes architectes. Alors c'est intéressant, on reçoit beaucoup de grands noms de l'architecture, et ce soir on va découvrir ensemble de jeunes architectes extrêmement prometteurs, qui je trouve ont un succès important, pas suffisant, mais important dans un pays difficile, la Bulgarie. Je dois dire que quand j'ai découvert leur travail, il y a déjà assez longtemps, j'étais très étonné. J'ai eu le grand plaisir de leur remettre, il y a déjà longtemps, en 2008, le prix Visage d'architecture pour les jeunes architectes. C'est le retardataire ? Excusez-moi. Remettre le prix Visard pour un peu l'équivalent de nos albums de la jeune architecture, mais ils ont eu le grand prix en 2008. Et c'était Elias Angelis qui remettait le grand prix des architectes confirmés. Et depuis, ils collectionnent les prix, mais aussi des réalisations. Ils ont été entre autres sélectionnés pour le prix Miss Van der Rohe il y a quelques années. Ils cumulent d'autres prix. Vous serez cette année à la Biennale de Venise. C'est bien ça, donc on se verra là-bas. Et donc ce que je voulais dire, c'est que la Bulgarie s'est ouverte en 89, on va dire, à la démocratie. Et depuis, c'est un pays extrêmement difficile dans le domaine du bâtiment, pas que, parce qu'il y a une corruption très importante qui règne dans ce pays et qui détermine le marché et celui de la commande. Donc les concours sont rares, sont difficiles, sont très souvent, on dirait, dans les démocraties aussi. Quoique la Bulgarie est aujourd'hui une démocratie, c'est évident. Néanmoins, dans le milieu de l'architecture, il y a vraiment une difficulté d'accès à la commande qui n'est pas comparable à celle qu'on vit ici. Et quand j'ai découvert les réalisations et les œuvres de ces deux jeunes architectes, j'étais estomaqué par le niveau professionnel de très haute qualité, le renouvellement permanent dans leur travail. Chaque projet est une entité en soi, est une recherche, est une œuvre, une aventure, qui est modelée évidemment par un programme, un site, habituellement essentiellement du logement et des bureaux, mais avec une volonté incroyable, je crois, qui naît de cette contrainte d'un monde et d'un milieu difficile, âpre, parce que le bâtiment et l'architecture est un milieu où l'argent règne, est important, et dans des pays comme ça qui découvrent de nouvelles libertés, de nouvelles possibilités, ce sont des marchés très importants et qui échappent en général à l'architecture et qui produisent une quantité incroyable de bâtiments médiocres. Et quand ils ne sont pas médiocres, ils sont souvent copiés ou inspirés de ce qui se fait ailleurs, sur les modèles, sur l'ouverture, sur la fascination de bâtiments intéressants faits par ailleurs dans le monde. Et là, ce qui est très intéressant dans votre travail, c'est cette dimension de recherche, d'inventivité, à la fois sur la forme, mais aussi sur les matériaux, et avec une vraie volonté de mise en œuvre. Et je pense qu'entre autres, on voit ici sur différents travaux sur les mouchards à biais, sur la question de l'ornementation, sur la question du motif, sur la question de la mise en œuvre entre la brique, le béton, l'acier, etc. Toujours une vraie curiosité qui me semble être à la fois issue de votre culture, parce que je dois dire aussi, c'est très intéressant pour vous, que le niveau culturel des étudiants en architecture et des étudiants en général en Bulgarie aussi est très élevé, parce que c'est une tradition. Il y a aussi une tradition francophile. Il y a une vraie curiosité. D'ailleurs, j'étais très étonné. J'ai la chance d'être professeur invité à Sofia en post-diplôme depuis 2 ans. Et j'avais Rossitza comme étudiante l'année dernière. Et quand vous verrez, c'était un vrai... On s'est bien amusé. C'était un vrai plaisir avec tous les autres étudiants. Quand j'ai découvert ce qu'ils avaient réalisé depuis encore, j'étais étonné qu'il y ait encore cette curiosité, cette démarche de faire du post-diplôme, du post-doctorat, après avoir réalisé ce que vous avez déjà réalisé. Voilà. Donc I just said that both together are a perfect couple of architects, as an example for curiosity, inventivity, and tenacity on what everything you have done till now. And I hope you can show us this tonight to all of us. Plamen a aussi une spécificité très bulgare, même s'ils sont francophiles. Plamen ne parle que bulgare. Même pas anglais. Même pas mal. So, Rossitza, now it's your job. And if you need anything, just tell me.
Is this or this?
Like you want. Maybe you can say a few words later in Bulgarian.
Hello, good night. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Georges, for the invitation. Thank you for this introduction, which I only partly understood. But yeah, thanks a lot. We're not that young studio anymore. We founded the studio 12 years ago. We are based in Sofia, and most of our projects are in Sofia, so we are Bulgarian speaking. Okay, we were wondering how to present our country, because I guess most of you, except the Bulgarians and George, probably don't know where exactly it is and what is specific about it. So this slide is not to show that Bulgaria is the center of the world, but that it is the cross point of different influences throughout history. So here are 5 maps, starting with the Roman Empire, which is the one that is the lightest gray. Well, you can recognize probably most of them. Then Byzantium, in the border of which Bulgaria has been created 1,300 years ago. Then came the Ottoman Empire. On this map, the Danube River is its northern border. Most of it is the border of Bulgaria. That was for 500 years, so Bulgaria was a part of the Ottoman Empire at its periphery, but a part of it. And then there was a new Bulgarian state at the end of the 19th century, which lasted for only 60 years as an independent, quite independent state, and then it became a part of the Soviet bloc. So a very rigid ideology has been imposed to all social, political, economical life, and that was for another 50 years. And now Bulgaria is at the periphery of the European Union, a part of its outer border. So every time such a change takes place, it is also a new beginning, and things need to be reconsidered, the past and the present. So the periphery and the overlapping of various influences means that every time you have to reconsider and start anew. This is the very center of Sofia. So what you don't see is the Roman city of Serdica underneath, and almost in its perimeter within that ancient city, there are. I'm sorry. I'll try to point.
You can use the mouse.
Can I?
On the screen.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, so something like this is the city of Serdica. And then there are a few churches, Orthodox churches, really old one. Bulgaria is an Orthodox country, which we took from Byzantium. So this is from the 10th century, the second important in Bulgaria. Sorry, oh, it's too fast. Then there is a mosque built by architect Sinan in the 16th century. This is the biggest Sepharad synagogue in Europe from the beginning of the 20th. And this is a Catholic church, quite new, a recent building. Sorry again. And this, let's say, ultimate tolerance to the differences, which was usual for the beginning of the 20th century, was replaced by, sorry, this is really, well, the huge Stalinist architecture. There are three pieces of them in the very center. This is the political center of the city, and they were built upon the most vivid part, the commercial part of Sofia. So it was demolished and these things were put upon. Then the 90s, it was right after the change. There was a big building boom with new types of buildings, new programs, and utmost attempt for an individuality in each building. So each of them quite didn't care about the environment. So our first project was on, sorry, was on this boulevard. Well, anyway, this is our first project. The boulevard is facing the Vituša mountain. So this is a huge one. It's about 20,000 square meters. It's huge for Sofia because, as you saw, it's a small-scale city. So it was big for us. We were just beginning. And our main issue was how to combine individuality within to preserve it within the whole. On the other side, all of these volumes, all these boxes, they have their direction, which is parallel to the direction of the boulevard. As you can see, they have sides and faces. Another issue was the depth of this plot, which was more than 40 meters. That meant that we had to introduce light into the, I'll try this, into the heart of the building, like here, this patio, here is another one. You can see them on this drawing. This is one of them. And we also mixed the program by using offices in the deepest part of the building. We also lit the staircases with these skylights so that even to the ground floor there is natural light. There are no two floors absolutely alike, and also no two apartments which are the same. So this is a principle that we follow very passionately in all of our buildings. So this individuality, of course, goes on to the facades. We tried to find various openings, types of glazings, types of balconies and loggias and terraces, which you cannot see here, but there are. And the cantilevers and, of course, the colors. So all possible differences. Of course, that led to some technical issues that we had to solve. We had more than 80 of these details in plan and in section, of course. You see the drainage pipes which are running behind the joints, because what was important for us were these joints here, so that on the facade they are the same, everywhere the same. That's why we made these forks of concrete where necessary. And there is a kind of a drainage system of these pipes running on all of the facades between the boxes. for the rainwater. Something that we managed to do in this building was to break this concept that a residential building like this one, a multifamily residential building, should be necessarily uniform and boring. So we tried to introduce as much individuality as possible into this entire organism without breaking it into fragments. And then there were various interpretations of it. A colleague of ours said that this reminds him of a very steep mountain hill with traditional Bulgarian houses placed almost on top of each other, which was quite a new idea for us. We never thought about it when designing this project. It became a kind of a lifestyle mark, this building. A famous film was shot there, a Bulgarian film called Lovenet. And also it was our biggest success so far, this building. So this model was a part of the traveling exhibition of Miss van der Rohe for 2 years. It was traveling across Europe. So the project became a part of 35 selections, a selection of 35 projects in 2009. Beside the catalogue of Miss van der Rohe, it was also chosen between 10 European projects by the A10 magazine in the same year, and we were really surprised with this cover. We never knew about it until we found it in a bookstore. And you will see some of these posters in the other project. There is a group of Bulgarian graphic designers called Plakat Combinat, and they made a topic of new Bulgarian architecture. They produced 19 posters, I think, in general, and 9 of them are of our buildings. Yeah, we're really proud with that. So these are 3 for 1 building. The next is an office building, which we made as a sign. That was the idea. Because it is placed on a very particular place. This is the highway connecting the airport with the very center of the city. And the roundabout crossing, which is on the ground level, and the highway is above it. So we decided to visualize what takes place on this roundabout, on this crossing. So there are various possibilities for U-turns and other turns, but also you can change the level. You can be up on the highway or down on the ground. This is the first principle that we use. Well, there are many principles, but we defined them into 3 last year. So first of them is a kind of a narration, a kind of a story that connects the building to its surroundings. It could also stem from the program, but there is always something to tell. There was a competition for this building. We made it with the Zoom studio. There are some colleagues, but we didn't succeed. A few years later, a client of ours came to us with the same site, the same program, and we offered him the same concept, but it was inverted because we were without Zoom studio this time. We were alone, so of course we couldn't give the same project. So we did the same, but not quite. The client was really happy because this building had 2 ground floors because of the difference in the levels. So the upper, I cannot do this, the upper ground floor has its entrance on this side, and the lower one has on the other side. They're both retail. We were searching for a color that was a color as a sign, quite bright and abstract. So we chose really the color of the sign you see there and the line on the ground. And in the night, all these lines are emitting light. Well, the entire building is oriented towards the crossing. We made it in a very difficult way. Probably now we would have done it differently, but it was our second one. You see that all the volumes are kind of freely floating into it, and there are no rigid walls. The stairs that are on the facade, they're both part of the facade, but also part of the interior, so that double height, double two-level offices are created in this way. These are the stairs. Of course, a lot of detailing, as I told you, we could have done it in an easier way, but next time probably. You can see here this detail. It is these yellow stripes that have LED lighting hidden behind. These are the stripes. And we were lucky that an IT company hired the entire building and they finished the interior design. It was again by our project, but the entire building looks the same way, which is really great. We designed, again, the staircases and the doors, all the doors. We are really crazy about doors and staircases, as you will see later. Probably because there are some border lines, some intermediate spaces, something in between, in and out. And we love such spaces. So you'll see some projects of interior design. This is an office. This is the ground floor, and the other one is the upper floor. So it has only one facade. To the, well, here. Therefore, and it's about 500 square meters each floor. Therefore, in the inside, it's really dark. And we made some openings. One of them is here and here in the staircase here, and also on the upper floor right here, which is between the office of the boss and this room, meeting room. We moved the entrance from here. It was below this thing. We moved it to here. And we also changed the facade. We turned it into a kind of a fence because the next building is really quite close to this facade. It's about 4 meters. This is how it looks like from the inside, both as a separation and a connection. The staircase with the natural light, it is the same stone for both things, but differently treated. The entrance, we used the graphic designer, and we later used him in other projects. We also worked with a sculptor. So the color of the walls was derived from this sculpture. This is the skylight between the office of the boss and the main meeting room. The graphic designer is a colleague of ours, and he made a lot of graphic design here. And finally, again, some doors. Really huge doors, and it's really nice to be there and see them opening. This is an apartment on the last floor of a building in the very center of the city. It has terraces, but the neighbors are quite near to his facade. The facade is entirely of glass, so we didn't want to create separations. We wanted to preserve the entire space, floating in the inside and to the outside. That's why we created this island where the kitchen is. Also, these 4 things are part of the kitchen. They're also islands. This is the kitchen, this one here. We worked with that same sculptor. His name is Ivan Kostov. We asked him to design a wallpaper design. So it was really nice. This is seen from the living room in the other direction. And as the other buildings are really in a close proximity, we had to put some greenery on the terraces. Here we worked with another sculptor as well, a minimalist. He was quite young at that time. This entire wall is made of graphite with a very interesting technology. And his name is Kirill Kuzmunov, and he now works between London and New York. So the entire thing about this interior was not about certain elements, but rather about the space around them and the way people inhabit the space. This is another residence. This is the way it looked like. We called the project Mickey Mouse. And this is what we proposed for this. They had 3 kids, therefore they had to have 3 bedrooms. And it was on the last floor again. So you see this stair, it's to the terrace on the roof. But we again were able to cut out some holes in the roof slab in the darkest areas, in the 2 bathrooms here and in this wardrobe, so that bring natural light into the darkest areas. And we also put a lot of floating islands into the entire space, which is smaller but with more functions. This is the living room and the kitchen. These are the differences between the daylight and during the night. It looks really very different. These islands are floating, levitating above the level. It's interesting that these guys when we met them and started to work on this project, they were going outside every evening, and now they stay at home. They were really keen about Arab patterns, so we made their kitchen with this pattern entirely. They make wooden furniture, by the way, and they did everything themselves. So we used more or less the same pattern for the bookshelves. This is the entrance door. It was another story. And this is the master bedroom, where the light comes both from the jacuzzi here and from this part where the bathroom is and the skylight above. The same sculptor, Ivan Kostov, he did the wall where they wanted to put some candles. This is the same bathroom, the roof of it, 6 meters high, and the children's bathroom in the night. What is interesting here is also this door, which is treated with the same material. Another one is this very huge playground. It's a bowling with a huge program, lounge, various things. It's about 2,000 square meters in a mall. We had to find something that would change the scale of this space, but at the same time keep its entity. So we created this really huge element which has acoustic material upon it and gives very nice feeling into this otherwise noisy area. And the bar is separating the lounge from the bowling. This is a residential building that we worked on the concept with another studio. and then they continued themselves, and in the end we concluded all the detailing of the facade. So this is the facade facing the street. The main idea was that this facade could be entirely closed with these stone panels that are made of stone lamellas, and each lamella could be rotated. In a certain position, the entire facade could be closed. The details were extremely elaborate because also the facade was slightly inclined to the street. All the panels were made entirely for this project, were designed for this. Another door. The way it opens is this line here. This is the contour of the opening, seen from the inside. So this building is more or less about closing. It's quite an introversion one. The next one is more or less the same scale. Well, the only thing that could be said about the neighborhood, the site, is that this is the south and the sun comes upon the building. So this is really the only thing. So we decided to work with the sun, with the light. We were really inspired by this film at that time. And we decided to create this effect in the interior and to materialize the sunlight. By the way, this shot was extremely difficult and it was full of smoke in the room while making it. So these panels, while moving, are kind of erasing all the walls until only the horizontal slabs and these separating vertical elements remain. This is the building. Of course, we designed further, not just the facade, but the posts, the mailboxes. Each floor is one apartment, and all the elements are freely floating into it. So there is no rigid border between inside and outside, except for these moving panels. Probably you could see the holes here, and this is, well, I will not try anymore with this. The staircase, we separated into two. There is a black part and a white part, and a lamp, which is through the entire height of the building. This is how it looks like. In between, there is glass on the floor. This is the way they look below. So the structural engineer was not really happy with this project, but he got used to, because we worked together quite a long time. So this is quite near to the first one. You see, all of these buildings have been built during the last, let's say, 15 years. So it was extremely overcrowded with this type of whatever it is, except for this Kishokurukava from the 80s. So we had to do a building like with the same program, but definitely not something like this. So when thinking what to do, we thought about the old Bulgarian villages where you can see this type of things, but behind them, next to them, as a secondary level, something in between the houses and nature, there are the old barns. And we have been always fascinated by the way the builders of the barns had such a strong sense of beauty, a kind of natural and unconscious, subconscious sense of beauty. So we tried to work with this and to create a secondary building within this overcrowded area. We started with this stone fence on the ground floor, and we put a wooden volume above it. We separated them with a joint made of glass. But there was also an existing, this is some power station, which was there and still is. So it was a part of this fence, solid fence, and the building is levitating above it. Here is the horizontal glass stripe, which is emitting light in the night, and the 4 volumes are separated again by glass joints that are running on both sides and along the roof as well. Each of the 4 volumes has the lamellas of different size and different inclination, and also the distances between them are different, so that even though they're the same material, they look slightly different in color because of the light. So probably this is the most, the best building around in this entire neighborhood. This panel block, I never believed I would say such a thing. Another issue was that when making residential architecture, you always have these windows which are more or less the same because they have to have some size, and they always, so each room has to have a window, which is really really boring. So we decided to close some of them just to hide them, and we did the same with the other side, but inverted. Again, there are no 2 apartments absolutely alike. And there is the skylight above the staircase. This is another poster for this building. The next one, there are some houses. This is the first house that we designed. Unfortunately, it was not built, and probably it won't be. The plot was very, very narrow. Right here, there are only 2 meters, and on the other side there are 9 meters. So the client came to us and said, I have this awful plot, and you're the only one who could do something with it. I want a very small house. So we decided to combine the garage with a staircase to the upper floor and put the garage beneath the staircase. And then we decided to use this very narrow space as a double height, as a void, and put there the library because she had a lot of books. As a continuation of the living room, this is the void. This is the garage with a staircase. The double height. And several pictures from the interior. This is from the upper floor. This one is in the very center of Sofia. We are working upon it right now. You'll see where it is now. So the client came to us with this drawing from 1912, and he said he liked it very much, so he wanted to reconstruct the building, but make it quite comfortable, quite new and old at the same time. This is what we found on the site, which had almost nothing common with that drawing. And besides that, a bomb has fallen upon this building during the Second World War, and 1/3 of it was gone. So we had to demolish and rebuild it. And we kind of separated it into 2 parts. There is this U-shaped facade, which is, let's say, the existing, which is again new, but we treated it as an old part. And all the rest, the interior and the garden, and this pavilion in the garden, we treated all of them as interior, including the back facade. So there are 3 outer walls, and there is the interior. And the only place where these two systems are communicating is this roof. So this is the back facade, which is where we wanted it to be more a continuation, not a separation, but a connection between inside and outside. As the house is right on the street level, we decided to move the living area one floor above, so therefore the entrance is half a level above the ground, and also the garden had to be made in levels. Sorry. So again, the living room has this double height library, another double height. So this is a 3D, and the master bedroom is suspended above it. There are no columns. It is suspended on the slab above. Probably you could see it here. Well, it's the same structural engineer. He's really good. This is another small house. It's not built yet, but I hope it will be. It's in a small village near this historical cliff, and the view to the cliff is the only nice thing about the plot. So he wanted to separate himself from all of these things here. That was the main idea. So we separated the house in all possible ways. We digged into the ground, so the living room is 1 story below the street level, and the entire yard is inclined. There is also this something between a fence and a forest, and the bedrooms are levitating above this forest. This is how it looks like. You can see the cliffs far ahead. Now there are a few really huge projects, but we made them in such a time that they didn't come to life. This is a really very big hotel in Borovets. It's a ski resort. This is a ski hotel, but it had to be used all through the year. So we decided to try to kind of manipulate the client and show him 3 possibilities. So this is something we would never do, but we called it let's say the standard plan. So this is design 1 and this is design 2, because we had to make two designs. And we convinced him that our design is really much better than the standard one, whatever it is. We combined a rigid geometrical structure where the hotel rooms are with kind of a natural surface covered with greenery. And in between there are atrium spaces where the communications, the staircases and the elevators are. These are the 4 hotel volumes, and the surface, the green surface, it is brown here, with the swimming pool, which is this thing here. The idea of that swimming pool was that, it connects to the bodies. It works as a bridge. It has the structure of a bridge. So the idea was that it would attract people because this hotel would work throughout the year. There are also the VIP rooms protruding out of this green surface, and and also the apartments at the end. So the idea was that nobody could look in the windows of the neighbors. There are no two rooms that look directly at each other. On giving us this, on assigning the task, the investor said that they wanted to build a hotel which would be top 10 in the design hotels of Europe. But when we gave him the project, he said that it's incredibly expensive and he cannot afford this. And he said, okay, then maybe top 100. So this is the design too. And we simply replaced the green surfaces with wooden lamellas. This was the first thing. And the second thing was to move these two hotel volumes right next to each other so that the only atrium remains here. This is the only void. Because what was expensive was the greenery and the voids, the atriums. So this is what remained of that atrium. But then he decided that there is too much wood. The entire hotel would be made of wood, and he would like some more stone. And we redesigned the building so that keeping the lamellas, but using stone in a way that it would look like stone, not wood anymore. And this was a poster that we didn't know it was for our building until we saw a very small picture of that hotel exactly, and we found out that it was again one of our posters. So this is another huge project which was not built. It is on the same boulevard as the first building that I showed you tonight. The main issue here is that this facade is 120 meters by 60 meters high. So we had to divide it into smaller parts, and we thought of this module, if you remember it. So we separated this entire facade into 12. So these two are missing and they are put here. Into 12 such 5-story small residential blocks. But it was not just one module. Sorry. The module was mirrored, rotated, and then mirrored and rotated. So there are 4 of that modules, 4 types. That is the rule. But then each of them contacts with the plan of the building, with the program, with the function, with each apartment, so that each plan is again different, and these modules kind of react to their contact with the plan. Of course, between the modules there are glass joints. We further separated the entire volume into smaller ones, and we introduced semi-public, semi-private space in between all of these volumes because there is a slope towards the mountain. There are 6 floors difference between this level and the other one, but we did only half of this building, half of this project. So this entire area is semi-private, semi-public, semi-closed and open. And we again combined offices with residentials. For the first time here, we introduced these 3 pots. The client was really, he didn't like them a lot. But anyway, he didn't do this building. You'll see them later. For some reasons, there had to be another design of the same project, but this time we were really, we did less work this time. We used again the same idea of 5 stories, but we played Jenga. And there were 4 possibilities for each floor, so the overall possibilities were 1,024 in general, but you cannot make architecture only with mathematics. We knew that before, but this was kind of a real proof, mathematical proof that mathematics is not enough. So this building was never, it's just for presentations. This is another concept. It was at the time when in Sofia there were too many abandoned structures, rough structures of concrete only, and they couldn't be used for anything. So we were thinking about how we can use such a structure of only concrete, of slabs and columns. And we thought of a vertical a pile of playgrounds set on top of each other. They're all open, so you need only several slabs, not all of these, just a few. Then we had to make the entire structure outside on the facade, and of course the communications had to be outside. We closed only 3 floors, the blue ones, a cafe, dressing rooms, and squash. And we made all these playgrounds and a bit of parking. So at some point later, the idea was that you could introduce the missing slabs and put the missing facades and air condition the entire building and turn it into offices. The idea was only to add and not to take out. This was our proposal, how it looks like. Of course, we also thought that it is possible that you could only add 2 slabs, not all of them, and close only 1 playground and use offices, playgrounds, so some kind of a mixture. But the client was not really fast, so he was not sure of all that. And now we are going to start this project again, but as an office building this time, no playgrounds. This is an office tower in the very center of the city again. This entire neighborhood is quite unhomogeneous. It's very, there are very different influences. Starting from this, which is the 0 kilometer of Sofia, there is this vertical landmark. It is the National Insurance Institute. And the second one is our building, the urban module. So we started as a, let's say, a standard office tower. And then we started to individualize by changing the heights of each of the modules and introducing this glass stripe, this joint, which corresponds to the neighboring building. Then we moved all of the volumes, again corresponding to the neighborhood. And in E here you see some bugs, some exceptions in the rules that we created, so that again more individuality and vividness would be introduced. And finally we corresponded to the existing buildings on both sides of ours. We had to connect the tower to the residential buildings on both sides. And again, we created joints between the 2 parts of the building. In a smaller scale, finally we reached to these 3 elements which create the entire building. So this is the joint, which corresponds to this last floor. You see the National Institute of Insurance Institute. This is again the same horizontal joint, and there is one of the vertical ones. But this is, this part is bigger. We inverted the principle. So here we have a glass facade with columns, and here we have a solid wall with windows. We were searching for a maximum stress on the verticality of this building, because it's not that high really, but we made all of the columns extremely slender, and we put joints in the middle of each, so that stress on that effect. There were all types of columns. This is one of I don't know how many. This was another structural engineer, and he didn't help a lot, really. Then there was another small fight with the fire department and the engineer again, because they wanted that this staircase would run straight from the ground level up to the 15th floor, which we thought was absolutely impossible. But finally we won, as you can see. We suggested that each floor would be one office space, but the investor was not sure, so he separated it into many offices. In the inside, all of these columns work as barriers for the sun. They stop the sunlight coming to the inside, and so we save energy from air conditioning in the summer. We designed all the foyer, the desks. This is a very strange picture that we found by chance. We made because it adds to the diversity of this urban landscape. And this I like a lot. The Sofia Tower. This is the mall, which is quite a horizontal building. It's really horizontal, but it's called tower. Therefore, I like this one. This is a present. This picture is a present from our 3D geek. He makes wonderful 3Ds and nice photos. And this is another present from a graphic designer. This is the Red Apple. It's a residential building. It's probably our last big built project. It is set on the cross point between two residential areas made up of big panel blocks and two open areas like this park, this is the South Park, and this market space and some sports playgrounds, sports facilities. So there is some duality in this place. There was from the very beginning something in between public and residential. This is the place before. There are only several types of repeating blocks. This is the building, the spot. There was a closed competition for this design between us and a studio that is usually invited with us in all closed competitions, but we won. And the main part of the idea of the investor was that he would use bricks, so that was the topic of the competition. And we started with this image, and we continued. So we tried to create a kind of a factory, a building that looks old but is new, because the entire neighborhood has too little history. It was built at one certain moment, and there is absolutely no history, no other layers. Initially, there was this basketball playground, but later it turned into offices, which is a shame. There were a lot of these tree pots. You will see them later, not so many, but there are still some. The building is the same scale and size as the existing panel blocks. And due to the strange form of the plot, it has various proportions seen from different points. It could be really fat, like here, or quite slender. In terms of regulations, there was some discrepancy because this is the maximum volume that was allowed, but the maximum area was slightly less. So we decided to use the maximum volume, but to reduce the area by these bubbles, which are double height living rooms, 22 in the building. It was also important for us to keep the entire ground area as a public space so that people could freely pass around the building. But it was also important for us to create this semi-closed, semi-open space, an in-between space, something before the entrance of the building, which are all these areas. All of these things are, in fact, have some function. These are the ventilations from the garages, some electrical things. This is a column, actually. So this is the entrance of the building. And the entrance seen from the inside, you see that there is no real boundary here. You cannot say where is inside, where is outside. Also, this door is not glazed, so it is an outer space. This entire atrium has no roof, so it is outside and inside the building. We also designed these lamps, quite scary, I think. The atrium in the core of the building, well, this is the biggest chimney. We called it a residential factory for some reasons, probably bricks, etc. And to this big chimney correspond many others, skylights above the building, like this one here, or on the lower floors. This is the atrium. Well, there is this pulsating effect of open spaces, which are something like in between, in and out, and all of these double heights work in that way. These are the double heights. Well, actually, each apartment is on only one level, so needless to say that each plan is absolutely different from all the others. This living room here has a double height on the next level, and this is what happens, but the other apartments are around it. So it was quite difficult with the plans. But it was not easier with the facades. We started with a primal grid, quite uniform. It was stemming from the size of the brick. Then we took out some elements in a chaotic way, and we replaced them with other exaggerated elements, which are the double heights. And finally, we hid some loggias behind the regular openings, like this one. You could recognize them on the facade because there are no windows, just openings. You can see one here. Well, this is an effect of inside recessing and outside protruding of the entire building. So we started with this one and ended up with this one. The same effect, well, I'll show you only this one. This is the cantilever, where the Flemish bonds are protruding halfway out, the bricks, but only on the cantilevers, not here, which creates kind of a wet effect on this facade. As I told you, all the dimensions in the entire building are stemming from the brick, and to each element we tried to create another one that corresponds to it, but in a different scale. So let's say that this one corresponds to this one, and this is another type of it. We worked with small and big, with inside and outside. By the way, these terraces are rather scary. This, for instance. We used the metal grid as a correspondence to the joints in the brick bond. Again, some juxtaposition of big and small, of inside and outside, or closed and open. So the boundaries of the entire building are rigid on the one hand, but also quite fuzzy and permeable, breathable on the other hand. It looks slightly unfinished. It also gave a very proper public space to the neighborhood, which we think is really important, even though this is an entirely private building. By the way, all of the architecture that you will see tonight is private, which is, I'm sorry to say, but this is more than 90% of the Bulgarian architecture today. Private. Yeah, another one. This is not so delicious, I think, as the previous one. This was awarded last year in this Italian award. Well, if you manage to fill in all the documents, you definitely will win, because it's impossible. It was part of a Faden atlas for brick, and it was on one page with this 5 centuries old cathedral in Vilnius, and also probably the first Bulgarian project which became part of this atlas. We were happy to continue with the design of this building by making a bar in the ground floor. Well, it's a heavy metal bar. We used a lot of metal for the bar and for this column that we wanted to hide. And I will show you also this rugwand. So this is the bar. The client said that he never in his life had expected that he would give so much money on steel, not on gold or anything else, but steel. So there were 3 kilometers of this in the entire thing. This is the rugwand. Is this one? At first we wanted them to be movable so that each time you can change this configuration and put whatever you want, but we had no time for this. So it is as it is. There were about 30,000 operations for these 10,000 things here. Well, this is something for cheese we designed. And here is this column that is a concrete column, but we wanted to make it disappear. Well, we wanted it previously to make it disappear, but the engineer was not quite happy with that, so there was the column. And we created this multitude around it, so not a single column. Finally, it was another structural engineer, but he made this wonderful metal thing, which in the end, well, it's a huge cantilever, as you can see. It steps only on these 2 things. And in the end, the metal is only 8 millimeters thick. We are almost finishing. There are 3 competitions, closed competitions. This is a closed one between 3 offices. There was existing hotel in Borovets again. This is ski resort. This is the old one, the old hotel. This is how it looks like. And the client said that they wanted a new hotel in an alpine style, whatever that means. So we took as a reference point the forest, the pine tree, and we took as much as possible from it. We again used the same concept as in the previous hotel. We combined the rigid geometry of the orthogonal blocks where the rooms are the hotel rooms with this seemingly seeming chaos of the atrium corresponding to the woods. Of course, we kept this Alpine-style roof. This is the ground floor. It is as much closed as possible to the entrance, but it opens up to the mountain with this restaurant's lobby, and there is a 6 floors atrium above it. You will see it. The hotel rooms, they rotate at each level. What was really difficult was the problem with the installations. So we had to change the level of the bathrooms and the corridors, and they are 3 steps above the bedrooms, which gives nice view to the mountain from each of the bathrooms. So this is the atrium space, which is 6 floors high. There is the swimming pool above it. You can see the water here. This is my favorite. Another competition, this time it was not closed. I think it was an international one with more than 300 projects. Walltopia is a company, it's a Bulgarian company that is the biggest producer of climbing walls, I think, in the world, but let's say in Europe, I don't know. Yeah. So he's a strange guy. He wanted to build a building for climbing, which he called Collider Activity Center. So we went, I think we were in the 10th or 15th, between the 10th or the 15th last project. I mean, first, well, but it was not enough. Georges was in the jury, but he did nothing. So the idea was that okay, next time. So the idea was to show overcoming gravity, and there was a fixed level, the maximum height of the building. So what we did was put all the entire program right below this line of 22 meters and free the entire ground level. Well, this is how we did it. There was also the idea of a canyon, because we were thinking of all the things we could imagine when speaking of climbing. And the same canyon, which is the atrium space, we made as an outside swimming pool in the garden. The entire building steps on 7 points. Each of them is also a staircase, so that the ground level is absolutely free, except these staircases. This is the void above the multifunctional hall. This is the ground floor. And the multifunctional hall we had to put below the ground level because simply there was no space otherwise. But what is really nice about it is that it uses this entire space of the canyon, so that the entire height of this hall is about 30 meters. This is the hall with the space above it. This is one of the upper levels with the climbing halls. This is the big climbing hall, the void above it. This is this canyon, and in between the walls are hidden the communications. This is the big climbing hall, and this big climbing hall is directly connected to the ground with all the swimming pools and amphitheater here. So this is the canyon, and this is some communication in between the walls. And the last one, This is another lost competition. It was a closed one. Yeah, but we lost it anyway. It's a university. So this is a huge mall, and all the cars and people are coming from this side. So the most logical thing was to put the entrance here. But this red line is a high voltage line, which means that we cannot build here in this area. So there had to be an empty space right here, and we decided to use it as an entrance space, as a piazza in front of this. By the way, our structural engineer, he's the nice guy with the stair, when he saw this thing, because we used him, even though that was a competition, we worked with him very hard. When he saw this, he thought that we have made some mistake with the drawings and it has to be vertical. If it was vertical, things would have been quite easy. Because Sofia is an earthquake area and all the buildings need to be sure that they will remain in a 9-degree earthquake. There was too much program and too little space. This is the usual case. So we put 2 levels under the ground, but we wanted to keep both the inside and the outside space. Like here. The other one was kind of a staircase, which is the inner space of the entire university, a place where the students would meet, exchange ideas, etc., whatever students do outside the classrooms. And finally, this one is one of Toccata and Fugue by Bach. We liked this visualization very much. And this is our facade. These are the various functions, different programs. This was a joke with the investor. This is the plan. There are 3 supports in this direction and these 2 upon which the entire building rests. So it ends something like here. The distance between here and the first support, which is this one, is 50 meters. This is the entrance level. This floor, this parking is below the building, but it's an outside space. It is not closed. This is this staircase with the atrium. This is the entrance again. The inside-outside parking area. This is this atrium. And the same space seen from above. On the other side, the cantilevered volumes are the library and the big multifunctional hall. So this is it. Thank you.
Fantastic, very impressive. As I said before, it's always such a pleasure to see how a couple of architects can produce so incredible things, and it's always each project is a story, and that's really fantastic. That it's never boring, and you make life beautiful. And I'm sure you showed 20 projects, half are built. A lot lost, but I have to say again that it's experimental, very courageous and exceptional, because the surrounding is very difficult to produce this in Bulgaria. And still, you have the courage and the spirit to do it. And I want you just to imagine all the details, the hours spent on some details to make it possible. And this is really architecture, and thank you very much for that lesson for our students, because it's really beautiful, always beautiful. So, and now we have 5 or 10 minutes for some questions. If you have some questions to Rossitza and Plamen.
Hi. Does this work? Yeah. Thank you so much for coming here tonight and sharing your work, because it was really a pleasure to discover this. I was just wondering about the thing with all of the details and you trying to make no apartments match and everything kind of unique. Could you explain why? Is it just for the aesthetics, or is there something more, or?
Yes. Yes, there is, I would say, much more than this, because, well, most of the Bulgarians are living in the cities, are living in these panel blocks. You saw some of them. And the main idea with these type of buildings is that they're all the same, absolutely unified, typified. And that was for 50 years in all aspects of life, this absolute unification. So our main idea is to try to individualize the apartments, the places where people live, the places they inhabit, but at the same time, it's really important that you don't just do fragments and put them together. We don't make separate apartments and then combine them, but we make an entire structure out of parts, out of individual parts. So that is the reason why. It's not easy, definitely. It would have been much easier if they were all the same. But it's interesting.
And by the way, for someone who's supposed to speak only Bulgarian, you managed just fine in English.
Thank you.
Excellente question, parce que ce que dit Rossitza là, c'est sortir de 50 ans de communisme où il y a 3 types d'appartements et qui sont juste multipliés en longueur et en hauteur, c'est-à-dire le 3 étages, le 5 étages, le 7, le 10 étages, c'est toujours la même cellule pour 1, 2, 3 ou 4 familles. Au bout de 50 ans, c'est quasiment un monde carcéral. Et donc, quelque part, effectivement, cette réponse de tout détailler, de tout travailler, d'assembler des choses totalement différentes, ça vient de cette frustration, même s'ils sont assez jeunes pour pas avoir vécu 50 ans dans ces conditions-là, mais c'est quand même 3 à 4 générations. Et donc, je pense qu'effectivement, cet appétit d'invention, de création, vient entre autres de ces frustrations-là. Mais c'est des choses que les artistes savent aussi élaborer et développer sans avoir de privation réelle. Enfin, je veux dire, c'est possible aussi ici. C'est gentil d'être venu. Une voisine, pas bulgare, mais...
Yeah, I'm Albanian. In fact, I'm asking me how many people are you in your agency? Because you are architects, designers, and engineers. Yeah, that's right.
No, we are only architects at the office. We work with designers or sculptors who are outside. The engineers are also other studios. We work with them on different projects, but at the office we're only architects. We used to be, I think, eight architects. That was the biggest number, and now we're 5.
Because it's so huge, what you are doing, and so much hours of work, and so I was asking how many people you are in your agency, and what about your relationships with the engineers? In fact, because in Albania the architect have the second place, you know, it's the engineer and then it's the architect, and the buildings are unified, like in Bulgaria. So I'm asking. I'm now in France from 8 years, so I don't know. Maybe it's evaluating, but I would like to know how it's in Bulgaria.
Well, it depends. That's why I said that we make only private projects, because in this case there is the investor who chooses the architect, and the architect chooses his team, which means all of the engineers. So the structural engineer is the second one after the architect. And if he's a good engineer, he really does his work quite nice. But there is the other case with all these municipal or states buildings, like for instance all the kindergartens, all the metro stations, the subway stations, all of them are directly given to some building company. They hire an architect, but they also know how and what they will do and how much it will cost. So the architect is not the second, but he's the last one, because he simply has to sign all of this. That is why there is a great difference between the private and the public architecture in Bulgaria, which is a shame. But yeah, it's really difficult with public.
Okay, thank you.
D'autres questions? Bien. Écoutez, on va conclure. Merci beaucoup. Formidable.